My in-laws tried to sabotage my wedding by spreading lies. Here's how I fought back. Hey, Reddit. Long-time lurker, first-time poster. And if my in-laws are reading this, survivor. I, 28F, just got married last month. And let's just say if you think bridezillas are bad, you should meet my in-laws. But let me back up a bit and set the scene. I met my now husband, Matt, 31M, 3 years ago at a friend's game night. He's the type of guy who laughs at his own dad jokes and, bless him, still triple checks that he's locked the door at night. I know people say when you know, but honestly, it wasn't some movie moment with fireworks. He was just easy to talk to, steady, and genuinely kind. By our third date, he showed up with my favorite cookies just in case dinner sucked. Reader, it did, but the cookies saved the night, and maybe my opinion of him. Meeting his parents, Jim and Linda, was an experience. The first dinner was a minefield of subtle jabs disguised as just being curious. Linda eyed my dress and asked if it was vintage or just thrifted. Jim wanted to know what my parents do for a living, then gave each other that look when I said my mom's a nurse and my dad's a mechanic. I told myself I was being too sensitive, that maybe I was just nervous. But the comments kept coming, always with that passive-aggressive smile. When Matt and I got engaged, Linda's warmth kicked up a notch. Suddenly, I was getting Pinterest boards full of princess ball gowns, not my style, detailed flower arrangements, and, my favorite, links to articles titled, "Why a Modest Wedding is Best." Subtle, right? Matt, bless his soul, thought his mom was just excited. She's just helpful like that, he said. I wanted to believe him. I really did. Looking back, there were red flags everywhere. Veiled criticisms, helpful advice that felt more like orders, and that sense of being evaluated every second I was in their house. But I told myself, this is just pre-wedding stress. All families are weird. If only I'd known how weird things were about to get. Things started to unravel about 2 months before the wedding, right when you're supposed to be worrying about calligraphy fonts, not family backstabbing. It started innocently enough, or so I thought. My friend Jess called me up one night, sounding uncomfortable. Hey, did you, really say you're only marrying Matt for his money? I nearly dropped my phone. For context, Matt works in IT and is comfortable, but we are definitely not rolling in yachts and private jets. I laughed it off at first, thinking Jess was joking, but she was dead serious. Apparently, she'd heard it from her mom, who'd heard it from a church acquaintance, who, surprise, just happens to play tennis with Linda. The next day, another friend texted me, "Hey, is it true your family's demanding a 6-figure wedding gift from Matt's parents?" I almost spit out my coffee. My family is so working class that we still bring Tupperware to parties, just in case there's leftovers. My first reaction was pure confusion. Where were these wild stories coming from? Was this some bizarre game of telephone, or was someone actively trying to poison the well? I started replaying every conversation I'd ever had with the in-laws, looking for clues. Suddenly, all those little digs and questions about my intentions felt a lot less random. Then came the smoking gun. I accidentally received a text meant for Matt's cousin, a long message from Linda, laying out all the worrisome signs she'd seen in me, and how we need to make sure Matt knows what he's getting into before it's too late. She listed everything from my student loan debt to the fact that my mom dyes her hair unnatural colors as proof that I was, apparently, some kind of gold-digging, family-shaming menace. That was the moment it all clicked. This wasn't just about hurt feelings or generational misunderstanding. My in-laws were actively, and weirdly creatively, sabotaging my reputation with Matt's entire family and even some of my friends. And suddenly, I wasn't just confused or hurt. I was furious and determined to find out just how deep this rabbit hole went. Fueled by a mix of righteous anger and the kind of curiosity that gets you in trouble, I started connecting dots and asking questions. I reached out to a few mutual friends. Some were cagey, others practically burst with relief when I asked, like they'd been dying to spill. Apparently, I'd become the star of a bizarre soap opera. I was using Matt to get a green card, never mind that I was born 2 towns over. My family was pressuring us for a fancy wedding they can't afford, and my personal favorite, I'd supposedly insisted on an open bar so my side could drink for free. For the record, I don't even drink. It was like I'd fallen into an alternate universe where everything I did or said was twisted and gossiped about. Some guests had apparently even considered skipping the wedding because they didn't want to get involved in drama. I started screenshotting texts, saving voice notes, and quietly documenting every outrageous rumor that floated my way. You'd think I was preparing a legal case, and honestly, I half wished I was. Then there were the awkward encounters. Matt's aunt dropping passive-aggressive comments at a family barbecue, or his cousin suddenly unfollowing me on Instagram. My own mom got a weird message from Linda, just checking in to make sure everything was really okay between Matt and me. It was exhausting, trying to figure out who knew what and who secretly thought I was the villain in my own story. Matt, meanwhile, was, well, Matt. Sweet but oblivious, convinced it was all just harmless chatter. I tried to explain how much it hurt, how it felt like death by 1,000 cuts, but he kept saying, they don't mean anything by it. They'll come around after the wedding. It was like trying to explain color to someone who's only seen in black and white. I started feeling trapped. Like no matter how hard I tried, I'd always be the outsider, the interloper. But I also realized something else. If I didn't stand up for myself now, I'd be signing up for a lifetime of this nonsense. And I was nowhere near done fighting. So, picture me, normally the least confrontational person in any room, now on a mission worthy of an amateur detective. If my in-laws wanted a battle, they picked the wrong gold digger. I started reaching out, quietly but persistently, to friends and family who'd heard these rumors. My DMs turned into a support group for people who thought I was secretly plotting to rob Matt blind. Turns out, most folks didn't actually believe the wildest stories, but the fact that they'd even heard them? That stung. It was almost surreal how far the web of gossip had spread. My cousin texted, "Hey, I heard you and Matt broke up. Are you okay?" We were literally picking wedding cake flavors together that day. A coworker gently asked if I needed to talk about any family drama, which was code for, your future MIL is talking smack at church again. Every awkward conversation made my stomach churn, but each one confirmed that this wasn't just in my head. Linda and Jim were painting me as the villain everywhere they could. I started keeping detailed notes. Who said what, where they'd heard it, and how long the rumor mill had been turning. I printed out the accidental text from Linda, just in case Matt ever claimed I was exaggerating. By now, even Matt couldn't ignore the mounting evidence. One night, after his cousin tagged him in a not-so-subtle meme about wedding scammers, he finally admitted, "Okay, this is getting out of hand." But when I suggested confronting his parents, Matt balked. "Maybe we should just let it blow over? I don't want to start a war before the wedding." That's when my patience snapped. If we couldn't stand together now, what chance did we have at building a united front later? I told him, point blank, that if he didn't have my back, I'd handle it myself. And if that meant calling out his parents at Sunday dinner, so be it. The next day, I called Linda, voice shaking, hands sweaty, but heart absolutely done with being the family scapegoat. I told her I knew about the rumors. I had proof, and I wanted an explanation, face to face, with Matt present. She hesitated, then finally agreed. Game on. The day of the confrontation felt like waiting for a root canal, only with more passive-aggressive casserole. Matt and I showed up at his parents' house for Sunday dinner, and the air was so thick you could cut it with one of Linda's antique butter knives. Jim greeted us with his usual forced cheerfulness, while Linda hovered near the kitchen, pretending to fuss with the salad. For once, I didn't bother playing nice. My hands were shaking, but I'd rehearsed every line in my head. We barely got through the soup before I put my spoon down and said, as calmly as I could, "We need to talk." Now, Linda shot Matt a pleading look, but he just nodded, silent support, at last. I laid out what I'd heard. The rumors about my motives, the nonsense about my family, even the text I'd received by accident. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I just told the truth, plain and simple. For a second, nobody spoke. Then Linda started with her usual, "Oh, you must have misunderstood," routine, but this time, I cut her off. "No, Linda, I have proof. I know exactly what you've been saying. I want to know why." Jim mumbled something about protecting Matt and family traditions. Linda's hands fluttered like startled birds as she insisted. "We were just worried. We didn't want Matt to make a mistake." That stung. Matt finally spoke up, his voice trembling but clear. I love her. This is my choice. And I can't believe you try to ruin it. For a moment, I saw shock register on both their faces. Linda tried to justify it. She'd heard things. She just wanted the best for her son. She didn't mean any harm. But her excuses rang hollow. The damage was done. The conversation turned heated fast. Jim accused me of turning Matt against his own family, while Linda tearfully denied she ever meant for things to go so far. For a split second, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But mostly, I felt exhausted. Here I was, defending myself in what should have been the happiest season of my life, fighting for the basic respect every person deserves. We left early, with no real resolution, just a simmering sense of betrayal and a new understanding. This was going to change everything. The drive home from that dinner was the quietest Matt and I had ever shared. I stared out the window, replaying every second of the confrontation, my hands still tingling, my chest aching from the sheer weight of it all. Part of me wanted to scream, another part wanted to just melt into the seat and disappear. Matt reached over, squeezing my hand, but neither of us spoke for a long while. There was a sadness in his eyes I'd never seen before, like he'd just watched his childhood home go up in flames. That night, everything caught up to me. I curled up on the sofa, still in my uncomfortable please take me seriously dress, and just let the tears come. For the first time, I really wondered if this wedding was worth all the pain, if love could really overcome family sabotage, or if I was kidding myself. Would every holiday from now on be a minefield? Would I always have to watch my back at every family event, waiting for the next rumor or cold shoulder? Matt finally broke the silence. I'm so sorry, babe. I should have stood up to them sooner. Hearing that did help, but it didn't erase the damage. We talked for hours, about his parents, about our future, about what we both needed to feel safe and respected. It was the hardest, rawest conversation we'd ever had. But it was real. I told him plainly, if you're with me, I need you with me, not halfway. The next few days were rough. The in-laws sent a flurry of let's just move on texts. Zero apologies, just more avoidance. Matt's sister called to say she didn't want to get involved, which stung more than I expected. Some of Matt's cousins unfollowed me on social media. Others DM'd me in secret to say they were on my side, but couldn't say anything publicly. I felt like I'd gone from bride-to-be to pariah overnight. But slowly, something changed. My own family and friends rallied around me. Jess came over with junk food and trashy reality TV, declaring we were having an anti-in-law night. My mom, fierce as ever, reminded me that I deserved better than to let other people dictate my happiness. And Matt, to his credit, became my fiercest defender. He told his parents, in no uncertain terms, that until they owned up to what they'd done, they wouldn't be part of any more wedding planning or our lives. It hurt, but it was also freeing. For the first time, I felt like I was taking control back, not just of my wedding, but of my future. With Matt finally on my side, fully and unapologetically, I realized I didn't have to keep tiptoeing around his parents' feelings. The wedding was supposed to be a celebration of love, not a stage for family drama. So, I took decisive action, maybe for the first time in this whole ordeal. First order of business, boundaries. I emailed Linda and Jim a short, direct message. Given recent events, all further wedding planning will go through me and Matt together. Please respect our choices and our space. I blocked them from our wedding website and group chats. My bridesmaids, saints, all of them, stepped up to help field calls and shield me from any stray gossip. I made it clear, toxic commentary would mean an uninvite, no matter who you were. It felt bold and maybe a little ruthless, but also incredible. For the first time, I wasn't waiting for someone else to stand up for me. I was standing up for myself. Matt and I sent out a message to our entire guest list, thanking everyone for their support and gently, but firmly squashing the biggest rumors. No, there is no secret dowry, and yes, everyone is welcome to eat as much as they want. Most people responded with love and relief. A few family members sent dramatic replies about airing dirty laundry, but honestly, at that point, I was past caring. Meanwhile, my own family doubled down on their support. My dad, usually the quiet type, gave me a pep talk about not letting bullies win, which weirdly felt more powerful than any bridal magazine affirmation. Even relatives I hadn't seen in years started reaching out to say how proud they were of me for not backing down. All of it gave me a sense of strength I didn't know I had. Wedding planning actually started to feel fun again. Matt and I picked silly cake flavors, made our own playlists, and invited a few extra friends just because. There were still tense moments, a frosty email from Linda here, a pointed comment from Jim there, but they started to fade into the background. For the first time in months, the focus was on us, not on drama. We decided that, come what may, our wedding would be filled with the people who genuinely loved and supported us. Even if that meant a smaller guest list and a few empty seats where the in-laws used to be. The morning of the wedding, I woke up feeling different. Not nervous, exactly. More like the day before a big exam, with adrenaline and weird, almost giddy energy buzzing under my skin. I half expected a last-minute disaster, maybe a runaway florist or a tornado of rumor-laden texts. Instead, my phone was mercifully quiet. My bridesmaids tiptoed around me, determined to make me laugh, and my mom gave me a fierce hug before the ceremony. "No matter what happens today," she whispered, "this is your day." The in-laws did show up, Jim with a sour look, Linda in a shade of pastel that matched her disapproval perfectly. There were whispers among Matt's extended family, a few icy glances, but nothing explosive. Matt and I had agreed. If anyone caused drama, they'd be quietly shown the door. We even assigned Jess, my ride or die, as the unofficial bouncer, armed with her best glare and a list of people who'd crossed the line. During the ceremony, my heart pounded, not from fear, but from the powerful sense that, despite everything, I was surrounded by people who truly cared. When I walked down the aisle, I saw my real supporters, smiling, teary, proud. Matt's eyes locked with mine, and for a moment, everything faded away except us. The reception was a patchwork of awkward and amazing. Jim barely spoke to me, and Linda hovered at the fringes, dropping hints about family traditions that everyone politely ignored. But Matt danced with me like no one else was in the room. My friends absolutely dominated the dance floor, and even my stoic uncle got up for the Macarena. There was one tense moment when a rumor-mongering aunt started up about what she'd heard, but Jess intercepted her, firmly suggesting she enjoy the buffet or head home early. Crisis averted. The rest of the night was filled with laughter, silly toasts, and more love than I could have imagined. For every forced smile or frosty silence, there were 10 more hugs, genuine congratulations, and joyful tears. I'd worried the drama would overshadow everything, but as the evening went on, it became clear the only people who had power to ruin my happiness were the ones I let in, and I'd already decided who mattered most. The morning after the wedding, I woke up exhausted but relieved. For the first time in months, there was no sense of dread, just sunlight, flowers, and half-eaten cake in our tiny apartment. My phone buzzed nonstop with photos and sweet texts from friends, reminding me how much love had actually filled our day. Even my notoriously grumpy great-aunt sent a message saying it was the most fun she'd had in years. Not everything was rosy. Linda sent a stiff, backhanded text, "I hope you're happy now," without a hint of apology. Jim stayed silent. A few of Matt's relatives unfollowed us, and his aunt posted a pointed Facebook rant about family values. But honestly, I felt nothing but relief. The people who mattered had been there, and their support drowned out the rest. Matt seemed lighter too. Over leftover cake and coffee, he smiled and told me, "We did it. We made it ours." My family threw a backyard barbecue, laughing about awkward moments and sharing photos. Surrounded by real love, I realized, family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's the people who show up, stand by you, and make you laugh even after the hardest battles. Looking back, I wish I'd trusted my gut sooner. If you're reading this and dealing with toxic in-laws or family sabotage, here's my advice. Set boundaries early and stick to them, no matter who tries to make you feel guilty. Don't be afraid to speak up for yourself, even if your voice shakes. And lean on your real support system, whether that's friends, family, or even internet strangers who get it. The drama didn't magically disappear after the wedding. Matt's parents still send the occasional guilt trip text, and family gatherings will probably always be awkward. But now, I know where we stand, and more importantly, so do they. Matt and I are stronger for it. We laugh more, worry less, and don't tiptoe around anyone else's expectations. If you take one thing from my story, let it be this: you deserve happiness on your wedding day and every day after. The people who truly love you will celebrate with you, not try to tear you down. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Thanks, Reddit, for listening and letting me share my wild ride. Wishing courage to anyone fighting their own battles. You're stronger than you think.